No, that's good. So I'll let you start the episode off and lead into it with that, and then I'll segue simply. This is so nice being able to sit back from my microphone and not have to feel like I'm making love to the microphone here. Right, it does. But see, now I can do this if I need to emphasize a point. Uh, yeah.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this episode of the Tangent Podcast.
Yep.
Victor's
Same,
gone.
same thing, but different locations.
No, he's in the same room. You just can't see him. It's an optical illusion. Yeah, you're in another part of the world.
I'm
Very sad.
I'm in a new time zone
You are
technically,
in a new time zone. That is
and
correct.
it's already messed me up for scheduling things,
Yeah.
and I haven't even been here a week.
Well, you did say to me for EST, and I got confused anyway, even though you did still specify EST.
I know. That was partly for my sake as well.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, so we're starting a little bit of a new format for how we're going to do things. So we've already been doing our blue episodes on every third week. We just finished a blue episode on obscure literature and obscure literature genres. So this week we're doing the body. This is the green episodes are focusing, at least the beginning part. We're gonna do our own personal. I was calling it our tri-weekly check-in. I don't know.
I
It's a
have
name.
no better name. I have
It
no
will,
better name for it
we
than
will
that.
probably change the name at some point. I'm sure.
Tri-weekly check-in
Tri-weekly.
of the
Well,
body.
yeah. Well, every week would be a tri-weekly check-in because next week is gonna be the
Our tri-weekly check-in of the spirit.
what? How do you do it? Because Victor has his own metaphors of like how to keep yourself in balance and whatnot, and I think
It's the body.
that's like our
It's
main
the
goal here at Logres is trying to
soul.
just
Yeah, yeah.
improve
It's the body,
ourselves and whatnot. So
mind, and soul.
okay,
And since since the blue since the blue episodes are the ones that we actually research for, we've decided that that's going to be our mind episode, even though sometimes we do talk about philosophical things, but I guess that's still mind, right?
it's more of like the very academic way of looking at those topics too. While we do explore topics that are, you know, broad, psychological,
Right.
physiological. It's
But we
more of
do
like from
we
an
go through
academic standpoint of like
right
doing the research, making sure we're not talking out of our asses, etc.,
through the
etc.
lens of academia.
Yeah.
Which I guess means next week we're just going to be talking about how we feel. Um,
Well,
no.
we'll see.
Anyway, so let's get to the tri-weekly body check-in.
Yeah.
And what your goals are and what you're thinking about doing in as far as your body is concerned.
Yeah. Well, before one more thing before we get into that, anyone else who wants to, join us and write out your goals, and you can send them in. You don't have to. I don't really know if that's something that you feel comfortable with, but like if you want to just write it down, a lot of what we try to do is just set a good example and better ourselves so you guys can ask questions and better yourselves.
Yeah, and honestly, bettering yourself, and again, I'm to add on to your just one more thing. Bettering yourself is
That's normally what
really
happens here, right? It's one more
right.
thing and then until it isn't.
Yeah, bettering yourself is really hard to do
Yes.
when you're doing it alone.
I mean, just put a
Like,
period there. Bettering yourself is really hard to do. Period.
right.
Like,
It's even harder to do when you're doing it alone. And
yeah.
that's why, like, throughout history, humans and even non-humans, we gather together into tribes, into
Yes.
clans. And so, like, this tri-weekly check-in, it's new, but it's not really, for those of you just listening, I did air quotes, but it's not really new for Anthony and I. It's just more formal because we do this stuff all the time off
Yeah.
mic. We talk about, hey, what are you doing for this? What are you doing for this? You know, like, what are you thinking about? I mean, you just today called me. Well, no, that wasn't today. That was yesterday.
That was
You were like,
yesterday
hey,
morning.
are you in the middle of something? And I was like, I'm making coffee. And you're like, I have a thought. I need to bounce
Yeah.
it off of a third party. And we like were on the phone for an hour,
Yeah,
just
until
talking.
Karen showed up and told us to get the fuck out of Dodge and we got shit to do.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm in the process of moving myself
Yeah,
and
yeah,
helping
yeah,
her move at the same time. And she also works full time, and
yeah.
I
That's fine.
work too. So you know, it
But
happens.
yes.
Anyway,
Yes.
so if you want to send in your stuff, even for the purpose of keeping us accountable,
or
we've got
accomplishments. If you've said that
yeah,
you've made it a goal, you
we want
can
to
add us on
celebrate
social
those
media.
things
We
together.
we are both not great at the social media, and we apologize profusely for it. But like, as with the goal of this is getting better, so we want to try to get better.
I honestly am considering, like, since it's like I'm considering deleting my own Instagram. Just so, and just being, well, no, deleting my own Instagram so that the only Instagram that I'm responsible for on my phone is the realm of Logra's Instagram, because I feel like if it's in front of me, like most things, right? You know, if someone puts a cheeseburger in front of you, I'm going to eat a cheeseburger. If someone makes healthy meals for me, I'm
Right.
going and puts those in front of me, and that's just my only option. That's what I'm gonna eat.
Well, it's
So
funny that you say speaking healthy meals because that
ooh,
was my goal. Because I'm
transition.
I include food and stuff as body because you're taking care of your actual physical
100%.
self.
100%. Most body transformation exercise plans
Start in the kitchen, yeah.
rise or fall on the meal, on the intake of calories and what those calories look like, which we've talked about before.
Yeah. In our blue episode on protein. But yes, my goal is to come up with a way to make black bean tofu. Because I've seen it multiple places
Ooh,
where
yeah.
people make a tofu. I don't know if you can really call it tofu, but it's the same style of bean curd, but with black beans instead. And I've been wanting to try it, and I haven't just thought about doing it. Like I haven't really sat down and said, okay, how am I going to do this? It was like it'd be cool to do that, but that's one of my goals is to come up with a good set of meals that I can, because like you can do so much with tofu, dude. And so
Dude, when you do that, put it in the OneNote, because I love, as a strictly vegetarian person,
yeah,
black beans are like, they are my life source
I made
and
black
my
bean soup.
connection to protein.
Black bean soup I made the other day. It was so good, dude. It was so good.
So your goal is to figure out a good way to make the black bean tofu
Yes.
to then move on from there.
Yeah, to move on and see what other kind of meals, because like it's like starting with pork. You can do whatever you want with pork. You can do whatever you want with like tofu and seitan. Was it seitan? Seishin? I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, one of I know I've referenced him before, but he used to be one of the personal trainers at the bodybuilding gym that I worked at in Sarasota, Florida. Kyle Wells, I think his Instagram is Live Wells or something like that.
That's cute.
His husband is like a super like chef culinary thing, and they do, unfortunately it's local, they do a home meal service thing where you can order like pre-made meals that all you have to do is reheat them. And since he's a certified trainer, they have all the macros on them for like the purpose of like diet and exercise and people who are trying to like bodybuild and stuff like that. But they're also like freshly made and they're super good. I bet you they know they've done a lot of things with probably like black beans, because that's a hard thing about like eating vegetarian stuff and eating anything that's good for your body is you got to be okay. You either have to be really creative or you have to be really okay with eating the same thing multiple times.
Yeah. And well, that's
like
part of the
me.
reason why I want to get creative too, because it's like I want to not be limited to certain things, and like I feel like not only that, but environmentally, diversification is probably more beneficial. And so if I can be more diverse and more flexible with how I eat, you know, it's not the worst thing for the environment either.
No, absolutely. Okay, all right. But like I said, when you figure out how to make that black bean tofu and make it well, put it in the OneNote, because I would definitely be interested in that.
Sorry, I had to grab my laptop because I realized
Yeah, I was just gonna say
didn't have
we
that
did
set
all
up.
of that, and you did have your laptop.
Yep.
That's good.
Which I
That's
have a
good.
computer right in front of me for those who are like, wow, how are you streaming this?
No,
I thought about that, but if I look up a tab that makes noise, our current setup for the audio is going through my desktop, and I don't want there to be overlapping noise.
right. And this is just a transitional setup, especially for me.
Yeah,
Because
we're figuring it out.
I'm still in between places, though I did get a look the other day at where I will be moving into. Ooh, I've got plans. I'm gonna there's a corner that is perfect
It's gonna be Victor's corner.
for me just to set up. That's kind of quiet and packed away. That will be really, really good for stuff like this.
Yeah, it's if anything,
anyway.
this is a throwback to that first beta season where we were so scuffed.
Yeah, but with better sound quality.
Yeah, it's an homage. It's not a go back to.
Well,
But anyway, that was my my body goal for these next 3 weeks. What do you have?
That would be really good too, because it's kind of this is an aside, but that's again like I said, that's what we do. So it's not my body goal, but that's one of the things that Karen wanted me to do, because I will have more time than she will, and plus, you know, taking care of the kids and stuff. Like, I told her, well, she eats out a lot, and she's a health conscious person too, and she's like, that's not good, but you know, after you're done making lunches for the kids, then to make lunch for yourself.
Right.
So I told her that probably starting next week, once all of the moving stuff is done, I'm gonna do meal prep stuff, and I have a meal prep that I've done before for myself that is just good protein, you know, rice, you know, and good veggies and stuff like that. But it'd be great to have something else to add to my repertoire, because I'm fine eating the same thing.
Right.
all of the time.
Yeah.
I would never force that upon anyone else. But as far as the body stuff is concerned, for me, for my goal, I have
Sorry to anyone who just heard that Windows.
the windows open. Yeah. No, so I mean, I guess it's understandable, because I've been moving and I still am moving, but I have been super lax on not just like working out, but like general martial practicing and training, period. And some of you who might be listening be like, oh, well, that's not okay, that's fine. Martial arts is not just like something that I do, but it's also becoming a huge part of my livelihood. Like, I am a martial arts instructor. I teach private students.
You might even say you're a Shihan in the martial arts.
Yeah, no, I have a mastery of instruction. Let's just call it that. And so for me,
you're 6th or 5th? You're still 5th, right?
Yeah, my 5th and my 4th.
That's right.
And technically my 1st.
Yeah, one of the highest 4ths in jiu-jitsu in the system, though.
Let's not talk about things like that.
To anyone who doesn't know Victor should know that he's extremely uncomfortable with his own accomplishments, and so I love just pulling them up.
I would love to just be a black belt. That's when I go. I love. Well, when we went to the whistle kick thing, I just wore my plain black belt, and when we went to the Gathering of Clans with Sifu Martin, we just didn't wear any belts.
Yeah,
and that was great. That was phenomenal. Anyway, so my thing is, I want to get back to my daily circle walking. Definitely want to get back to do that. I just learned a new palm change today.
Oh yeah, the snake one, right? Double snake.
And it was weird, but it has a really nice like whip around that would do it. Actually has two really nice whip arounds that would be really sweet strikes. But I just need to work on getting it smoother. So I want to get back into my circle walking and my daily bagua practice so that my kung fu body gets used to itself and gets better. But now that I'm
Hang
away
the
from
flesh on the curtain. Is that I know?
yeah,
Is that what it was, or was it something
on the
else?
hanger,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
your flesh hangs,
The flesh
right?
hangs. Yeah.
Flesh hangs. Uh, but now that I'm not at the Segido home dojo in New Jersey, like I need to be diligently training and practicing my Segido stuff too, because I don't want that stuff to get stale and rusty. So
Yeah.
those are my body things, is just to up my martial practice, and then my physical fitness I'm sure is gonna get back on track as well. Plus Karen wants to earn her black belt with stuff like that. So I already told
In
her that starting
our shared system.
yeah, in our shared system. So starting next week, we're gonna like set aside at least one day a week at a specific time that we're both, available, and it'd be like this is gonna be Segido time.
Yeah.
Um,
That's good.
she,
I think it's a good.
she's already doesn't want. She's like, I know eventually I'm gonna learn some of your bagua palm changes, but she looked at my dragon stance that when I towed in, and she's like, I just can't even comprehend that being comfortable. So not right now. which is fair. I was there.
The double snake palm change, by the way, is that more or less dangerous than monkey? Because monkey is a bit of a whip.
No, monkey. The monkey single palm change is still the one that, like, you could accidentally damage someone with it.
You could accidentally kill someone with monkey, dude. That is just
yeah. But okay, so yeah. I mean, the other ones, like, I feel fairly controlled with a lot of them, but the monkey single palm change is still the one where I'm like, I would only want to do this to someone's body and maybe crack their ribs, as opposed to doing it towards the face or neck, where when you're walking on the circle, that's where it's done. It's, if you can't see this, if you're listening to this, my wrists are together like I'm holding a bowl, and you basically whip them towards someone's chin.
Yeah. Like if you've ever been walking somewhere and like you're looking in a different direction and then you turn your head and there's like something right in your face and you just have that like gutter like jolt back. It's like that, but it actually hits you. Like it's actually coming at you instead of just being a stationary object.
Well, you saw when I did the regular double palm form, the one that has the bear in it. The double snake is very similar to that. It has a very similar step through whip motion, but with a piercing palm strike to it, or a palm heel strike as well.
Got it. Yeah,
I feel like our body.
The bear is nice.
Bear is so nice. Bear and Phoenix together, like just the static postures, are very fun to do to someone, just because it's low high or high low, and it's just super. It's super off putting when someone's doing that into your center mass. I feel like our body days are gonna very much heavily make us a martial arts podcast, just like every 3 weeks.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. The reason why I love bears so much is because you're just attacking someone with your body, and that it's like very reminiscent of what a bear would do to you. A bear would just like attack you with its mass.
Yeah, the only way that I can describe it for those watching this stream or watching one of the videos on demand, because I'm not like gonna get up and do it, is bear. Imagine if you just like step really deep and low, but into someone's hips. Yeah. So like you're trying to occupy the space that their body is occupying, which physics teaches us that that's impossible. It's so like, one of those two things have to give.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with a metaphor, but I lost it. Anyway, so that's those are our
that's my
goals.
body. Those are our body goals, and so
Nice.
I guess we can check in 3 weeks on how we're doing on those body goals, and if they're still our goals,
Hmm.
or if we have new ones when we accomplish them.
I
Because
think
that's
I'm gonna
when we accomplish them.
yeah, I'm gonna do some rearranging of stuff in our own personal notes.
Mhm.
So then it'll be a lot more neat. So we don't have to like keep on adding stuff for each new
Yeah.
episode and
If you
have
guys ever hear us reference the OneNote, it's
yeah.
because we both have Microsoft Office.
I
Not a
love
sponsor,
OneNote. To anyone
but
who
could
like
we
yeah
totally be a sponsor. But
yeah,
yeah, OneNote's amazing. I didn't even know it existed until you told me about it.
there's some stuff that I use Obsidian for because it just does it better than OneNote, but I love OneNote. OneNote using like OneNote and Obsidian in tandem is like the greatest workflow I think anyone could ever have. I
Yeah,
would
but
recommend it to anyone.
basically with OneNote, we can create massive, I guess you would call them notebooks of Word documents
It's like
that are
having a
just
composition notebook that you can
yeah,
share
that are just
over the internet with
yeah,
someone. It's great.
right. And
It's
and
fantastic.
so everything that we do for this podcast is all in a shared notebook. And when I go in and make changes, Anthony can see them. When he
Yeah.
goes in and makes changes, he can see them. Technically, if our internets are working correctly, I could go in right now and write something down to him, and if he was looking at the same part of the notebook, he could see it in almost real time.
Yeah. And it's like you can actually like physically write stuff too, like a notebook, which is super nice.
Oh yes,
That's
yeah,
why we
yeah,
have
if you have it.
our weird looking gloves. If you ever see us put these gloves on,
Yeah, that's right. It's because so
it's
that
like
we don't
why,
accidentally.
why is your
hang on.
glove only have 2 fingers? It's so when you're writing on the screen, it doesn't rub.
So,
But yeah,
speaking of body and martial arts things,
sure, hit me with it.
I have something that I've noticed.
Mhm.
And I was like, hey, I wonder if Anthony's noticed the same thing, and I would like, so I was going to run it by you. And so as a instructor, someone who teaches any type of combat sport,
Mhm.
as well as a practitioner myself, there are some things that bother me. And what brings out bothersome things more acutely than social media? So I was on TikTok, and this has come up a lot, and the same account comes up a lot, and I look at it's a couple, it's a guy and a girl, and I guess the girl comes the girl like just went and took a women's self-defense class, right?
Okay.
And then she comes back and she's trying out the moves that she learned in the women's self-defense class on her boyfriend.
Mhm.
And like all the comments are like, oh, you guys are so cute, like, oh, this is so funny, hilarious, I'm dying. But as a martial artist, like how he reacts to her self-defense things that she's learned, and I've seen other men do this as well, is destructive. So basically, all he's doing is she's now from the context that I've gotten from this video, she's taken one multiple hour, maybe like 2 to 3 hour self defense course.
Mhm.
You helped me teach a couple of them.
Yeah.
I've taught a bunch of them, and like I say the same thing to every woman. These are tools. You are in no way capable of defending yourself after this session is over.
Yeah.
What you need to do is you need to go home and take these techniques and practice them over and over and over and over again until your body just does them without thought. It's the same way you learn martial arts, but we
Right.
just teach dumbed down techniques.
It's
But
like if
then
you
what
give someone a hammer, like a ball peen hammer, and a bunch of screws, and you say, "This is how you do something." Like, or okay, I'll say it's you show someone how to use a hammer and nails, but when they go home, they just have a hammer and screws. Like you have to figure
Right.
out that you need nails in order to do stuff. You're giving them tools, but you don't know how to use the tools properly, or like,
But back to the thing that bothers me
right,
is that then the guy is like grabbing her for real, and like he's a dude who he looks like I think he does jujitsu himself, and then she's doing the things that he's doing or that she learned in this 3 hour sessions, and he's like resisting.
Right.
And like they're laughing like, oh yeah, that'll never work, and that you know, oh like you can't do that, like whatever. And people use this as an excuse for women's self-defense courses. Oh, don't work. So here's my pet peeve.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, there are self-defense courses that are just bull. They're just utter BS. They're garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And the people teaching them don't do so with the gravitas that I think that instructors of martial arts need to have.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that bothers me, because I've seen other men do this in just not a cutesy way, and just like go up to one of my students, like a father or a brother, go up to one of my students who's been training for less than a year, and literally slap them in the side of the face.
Mm-hmm.
And because their reaction was slow, is like, oh geez, what are you learning? And I'm like, don't you realize that all you are doing in this moment is undercutting their discipline, making them doubt themselves, and not supporting their process?
Mm-hmm.
And like what I see a lot too is I would think that men, like I have a girlfriend, I want to do everything that I can to encourage her outside, like to feel safe. Not a false sense of security, but to feel safe when she's out and about alone.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see these guys who are like, one, they know what's about to happen. They know what's coming, so they know like how to resist. Like the whole thing when you teach women self-defense stuff is you teach them, and even regular like martial arts, you play possum until you have to explode. The element of surprise is half of the technique,
Mm-hmm.
if not more. But if you know it's coming, and then you have the fact that psychologically the woman knows that this is her boyfriend and not really trying to hurt her, so she's not really trying to do damage to him.
Right. I would say that's the other thing to think about too, is
So
like
there's that pullback too, and it's almost like
Yeah.
the guys get this, and I'm gonna call it what I see it as, this sick enjoyment of proving to their women that they can't defend themselves, and that bothers me. Like it gets me heated. And I don't think that they mean it that way.
Right.
But that's always the way that I see it coming across. Like show me what you learned in your self-defense course that you took for an hour
Mm-hmm. I don't know
just
if
yesterday.
It's like,
Boom. Oh, it didn't work.
yeah. I don't know if it's like a sick enjoyment, but it's definitely like a however you
Yeah,
say, like diminutive. Yeah, diminutive, but like doing it. However you say that. Demunitization.
Yes.
Demunitivizing words, dude.
Yeah, they're
making
hard.
smaller, minimizing, discarding, disregarding, whatever. Just disregarding or discarding the work and effort that's been put in.
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I see that in a lot of places, just in general, as humans do, but it is definitely very destructive in this particular
Yes.
case, for the reasons of like it's the psychological detriments to it. So like making you
Yeah.
doubt yourself and whatnot.
Right. And like having confidence is a huge part of personal self-defense.
Yeah.
For anyone. Even for me as a smaller guy.
I think
Like,
in terms of any interaction with any other human, or just like any kind of interaction with another consciousness, be it like or whatever, because like you can interacting with the dog, right? When you're interacting with your dog, having confidence is good. Like confidence is so important in so many different scenarios that where you're interacting with something else, and I think this is definitely one of the situations where that is shown the most, where like the idea that you need confidence in this interaction it's so clear that that's what's important, is because it's almost like as I've talked with you before about like when you slow spar, right? A lot of it is if it's just you and someone else who's slow sparring, you're gonna want to speed up. You're gonna want to go fast. But if you on your own can maintain and have, it's almost like confidence, but it's more of like charisma, I would say, or like your own willpower to just maintain your own speed and not speed up. I think that is the kind of whatever that thing is that you're doing that's the same kind of thing that shows itself in any kind of self-defense. That like charisma, that confidence, that willpower, whatever you want to call that thing, that is what's important. And when you disregard or demunitivize, because I'm inventing that new word now.
That's fine. I'm for it.
When you demunitivize something that someone is trying to do,
I think you're looking for the word diminish.
Diminish. Thank you.
I got you, bro. When you diminish. I don't. You know what? Whatever. When you diminish something that someone is doing to train that, you are also diminishing that. I'll call it charisma that they're trying to build up. Because it is confidence. There is confidence in there, but it's more than just that. I think it's your whole charisma that you have, your ability to be charismatic. I think that is very significantly diminished when someone just like says, "Oh, that wouldn't work," or like knows what they're going to try to do and purposely counteracts it. Because if you're doing that in training, sure, go for it. That's something that's important to do, is like resist in training, to do that kind of stuff. And like here's some perspective, right? I've been doing this martial arts for 22 years, right? And you've been doing it for 12 less than me, right?
Oh,
or
God.
10 less than me.
Oh,
so
God, 12.
So like
it's since 2010.
But here's the thing. If we were working with someone,
Wait,
and they knew what we
pause for a second, just because I think it's funny. How long have you been doing this?
22 years.
And I've been doing it for 12 years.
Yes.
So again, there's a 12 or 10-year gap between the two of us.
Yeah, there's a 10-year gap between us. That is what it is.
Which means we both started at the same age.
You started at 2010.
Yeah.
I started in 2000.
Wow. Anyway, back to your point. I just think it's funny that there's consistently a 10-year gap between the two of us.
But back to my point. Even you and I doing, like, if someone knew the technique that we were about to do and resisted, it wouldn't work for us too.
Right.
We just have more tools in our toolbox, and
we know how to shift off of something that we know is not going to work.
Because we have all of those other techniques in our head. I'm just going to say the word Mushin is a Japanese word that means no mind, and it's
memory.
a Japanese
muscle memory.
Yeah, it's a Japanese term for muscle memory. So if I say it accidentally, that's what I mean. Just let's get it out of the way, because it's almost come out of my mouth multiple times on this podcast. So we already have those things as Mushin, whereas a woman who's taken one self-defense class is just building Mushin. And what you're doing by diminishing that and undermining that is you're undermining her desire to continue the journey, because she's not already there, by making fun of her for not being already there yet.
Right.
By diminishing the fact that she's not there yet, even though she just started her journey 3 hours ago.
Right. And I also want to like just put that out there that like, even if it's not something that's huge, even if she's still laughing about it and whatever, like, it doesn't mean that it doesn't have an impact. It doesn't mean that you're like destroying her confidence and destroying everything about her brain or his brain or whoever's brain, right? It's just more of that, like, actions have consequences.
Yeah.
The things that you do have consequences.
Right.
And so it's just almost something that needs to be that someone needs to be more mindful of like, even if it's to the smallest degree of like a single decimal of a percent of her confidence is shattered. It's still, there is an effect that's being had because of the way that you treated something. And that's like the best case. Like, who knows what happens in the worst case?
Yeah. And like it could dissuade her from even like in the worst case for some people, like I, as someone who's taught many students before, especially like, you know, I've seen this happen, especially in like that teenage adolescent age where they're like super trying to discover who they are. I've seen the thing happen where it's like one person tells them they're no good at something and they stop their journey altogether.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, and they just like
so
try to either say I'm gonna switch to something else because I'm just not good at this.
which is the
Um,
best case scenario, but the worst case
right.
scenario is, well, I guess learning physical defense is pointless. I just won't do it.
Right.
And I heard this on an episode of the Whistle Kick podcast, which you're wearing a
I
Whistle Kick
am.
hat that I got you. It's a
It's a
great martial
comfortable
arts
hat.
podcast, which we tend to talk about martial arts a lot, but that's just because we both are martial artists, and so it's the
Mhm.
lens in which we view the world. If you really like martial arts a
It's one
lot,
of the lenses. I don't know about you, Mister 22 years.
it's
I still have some
it's
other lenses left.
it's a lens. Fine, it's a lens through which we view the world. But if
It's
you
like you ever
like
see
it, and
those really, I guess you could call it like fantasy gem crafters who have all the different like lenses that are,
yes.
yeah, that's what we're like. One of those is martial arts one.
But anyway, on the Whistle Kick martial arts podcast,
Mhm.
Jeremy and Andrew, who were talking about something very similar to this, and they were talking about the concept of like the how much a martial artist trains.
Mhm.
You know, to when you're training for self-defense purposes, not for competition.
Right.
So when you train for self-defense purposes, there's like a 5% chance that you're going to need to use your martial arts that
Right.
you're diligently training, and even a huge percentage. It could
Mhm.
possibly be smaller. There's a 5%
Probably
chance that
smaller.
you're going to need to use that thing that you're training diligently to do. But if you find yourself in that 5%, it's going to be the most important thing that you do that day.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy
Maybe that
thing.
week.
So like, right. So that's like why me as a grown ass man
Mhm.
who's been doing this for 22 years, and my girlfriend also has been doing this for quite some time. She has skill of her own right in another style, and so like just when I say that she's going to train in our mutual style, that doesn't mean that she does nothing. She's got rank in another system. She just wants to learn our system,
Right.
um, which is a whole nother part of your martial arts journey that I highly recommend anyway.
Yeah, cross
But
training and whatnot.
but the thing is even all of that said, like me, I encourage her in everything to make sure that if she finds herself in that 5%, 1%, that she's the best equipped that she can. And was it Sun Tzu says that no plan survives first contact with the enemy?
Yeah. Something along those lines.
But that still does not mean that you don't plan,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that you don't have that plan, even if it doesn't
You
survive
have
contact.
multiple plans. I mean, half the reason why I encouraged her when she texted me is she's like, should I adopt this giant pure-blooded German shepherd? I'm like, you are a woman and you live alone? Yes, you absolutely
not?
should adopt a large, scary dog.
Yeah.
And her dog is an idiot anyway.
I think
I love
her
it.
dog
I love her.
is probably more scared of itself. I think you should be more scared of what it is going to do to itself than of what it's going to do to you.
Yes, but other people don't know that, and
Yeah.
that's the beautiful thing.
Right.
Actually, it could get pretty protective. It's now that she's actually in her house,
Mhm.
and the dog has been there for a while, and like it feels like it has a kingdom
Mm-hmm.
and in a home. Uh, her dog's a lot different than it was the last time I saw her dog when she was just in the apartment. So.
That's fair. It has its domain. It has its space that it
Yeah,
wants
yes,
to.
it has a clear domain. That's what Echo's dealing with right now as I'm in this apartment,
Right.
in this transitional place, is that she's still barking at people in the parking lot
She doesn't
3
have a
stories
space.
down because she doesn't know what's her space or not.
Yeah. Should be
Um,
interesting to see how the two of those dogs do with each other.
It was already interesting, but we will do so together. The other thing that I had written down, I don't know what we're doing on time wise, but it kind of goes
We got some
along
time.
with the first one. Kind of goes along with the first thing that I had said, that as a martial artist, something that bothers me.
Mhm. I
And
feel
this
like
is
there's a lot
something.
of things that bother you, though.
Yes, but I would say that again, these are through the lens of a martial arts instructor,
Got it.
though these are the
A martial
things
arts
that
master, if you will.
no, a martial arts instructor. These are the things that, um, honestly, you shouldn't do at all. I mean, you even said it, like you should not undercut someone's journey in anything,
Mm-hmm.
right? You shouldn't diminish their
No, no,
efforts.
no, not diminish. Diminutive-ize.
Diminutive.
Diminutive-ize.
You should not be diminutive
No.
of their.
Diminutive. Yes.
The other one,
Diminutivization. Diminutivization.
the other one that I wrote down,
Mm-hmm.
and it's funny because I'm part of I've started a group of people who are going to get together actually this Sunday and just talk about martial arts and martial arts related things from the perspective of people who run schools or are looking to run schools, so that we can help and support each other's. And this was one of the rules that I wrote down, and it happens all of the time on social media, and it's why like I hardly ever post any martial arts related things on social media anymore, because I just don't want to deal with it
Right.
a lot of times, which is bad on my part. I need to just not care, but it's
Right. I don't know if I completely agree with that sentiment either, but that's besides the point.
right. So and this is not, because we all know about the trolls or the armchair warriors. That's not what I'm about to talk about. What I'm about to talk about is the people who are trained in whatever style that they do that's not your own. And the first thing out of their mouth is, so this is what this style does and why it's wrong, and now I'm going to show you how I do it. Like, I hate people who talk about, not hate is a strong word. It bothers me when people talk about what other practitioners are doing wrong instead of just showing what they're doing. It's the straw man, again, logical, argumentative fallacies. I'm not going to talk about my belief and what I'm arguing for. I'm instead going to talk about what this other person believes. But since I think it's hokum, I'm just going to set it up just to be knocked down.
Right.
It's stupid. And that was one of the rules, was I was like, don't tell me what other people's do. Like, don't tell me what other people do. Just show me what you do.
Right. Don't even mention someone else. Just show me what you do. I mean, I guess you could say like it's like this. The thing that I do is like this, but other than that, don't mention what other people do.
Right. But see, saying something's like something, that's using positive correlation by bringing up something that someone else may be familiar with. So I was just watching a YouTube video the other day of this gentleman who teaches Jeet Kune Do, which is a whole nother thing in and of itself. People who teach Jeet Kune Do, and that's just in the sense of like Bruce Lee's philosophy behind that system, and the fact that he never really taught anyone except for a small handful of people.
He didn't really even want him to, like, he didn't want to have a system.
He didn't want it to be a system, but now it's a system because he's Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
But anyway, so this guy was a JKD instructor, and he was saying, listen, this is what's wrong with the Wing Chun punch. And so he's like, this is the Wing Chun chain punch. This is a guy who's never trained Wing Chun before. And he was like, and they throw these punches and they're so bad because there's no body hip motion rotation. And he goes, and so in Jeet Kune Do, this is how we throw this punch and why it's better. Why didn't you just start with, this is how we throw this punch in Jeet Kune Do?
Period.
And then
period. Like, that was the end of the thought. Yeah.
Like that's it. And it was funny because I only watched the video further than because normally as soon as the person says, this is how Wing Chun throws something and why it sucks, I stop the video. The only reason why I was watching it was that there is a Wing Chun instructor who's a retired police officer in the city of Chicago. That's why he learned Wing Chun, was he used it to help defend himself on the street.
Right.
Law enforcement. And he was commentating on this guy's video. That's the only reason why I watched the whole video. And so you have a practitioner who has years in this art basically saying, okay, what this guy is saying, this is how we throw a punch. That's not how we throw a punch. I don't know what he's doing, but that's not what we're taught in Wing Chun.
Right. I mean, yeah. That's the difference between someone who knows Segido saying Kokyo Ho is terrible and someone who doesn't know Segido at all being like, why are they doing this thing in one of their ippons? Wait, is it Kokyo Ho? What's
yes, it's
what's the box one?
technique?
Yeah.
Kokyo Ho.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kokyo Ho. That's,
Like, to someone who has no idea about anything in Segido-ryu, you show them Kokyo Ho, say, yeah, this is in one of our ippons. They're going to be like, why? This is terrible. I'd be like, yeah, I kind of agree with you. However, that's not Segido-ryu. That's like something that is done. That is like done for specific reasons, and you don't really use it ever, right?
That would be like someone. I mean, you do use it, but just in a grappling context,
right?
And
or like that'd be me doing a front stance and being like, yeah, this is our front stance, and someone being like, that's a terrible way to fight from. We don't fight from front stance. Like,
we don't fight from front stance.
Yeah.
We're in it for half a second. Like, and that's a thing. That's a thing that whenever, again.
Which is why, like, going back to the Wing Chun punch, like, I wouldn't comment, oh yeah, this punch is terrible. I mean, people probably do it just because it's like, it gathers attention, you know, for better or for worse. Any publicity is good publicity. And probably also like a pride thing too. One of the two.
Right, because we don't live in the 70s anymore where you can just walk into someone else's dojo and challenge the master.
Yeah. Let's go back to that. It was a good time.
It is.
It was not a good time. Let's not go back to that.
Let's not. Let's not go back to that.
The gladiatorial pits. Those were
right. Yes, that was good.
Prime human civilization right there.
Was it leader of the whatever? Son to a murdered father, or son to
husband of a murdered wife.
Husband of a murdered wife.
Father of a murdered son. I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
It's like one of the greatest cinematic moments. Like, listen, if you've ever seen Gladiator, I don't want to hear how historically inaccurate.
I don't care, dude. Gladiator was great. Honestly, Gladiator was not that historically inaccurate. Did the things happen? No, but similar things did happen in Rome with like there being a terrible.
I don't give a flying flip. It's a great movie.
It is a great movie.
Like it's a phenomenal movie. I look at Gladiator on the same realm of like I look at it like Lord of the Rings. Like it to me.
I wouldn't even look at Lord of the Rings. Okay.
Like ready? This goes back to last week's episode. Lord of the Rings is high fantasy. Gladiator is low fantasy. It just doesn't have magic in it. I don't care. Or fine, historical fiction. I don't care. Mm-hmm. I don't care that it's not historically accurate. Because that's the thing that like I hate. You get all these like history buffs who get on who like will watch history movies and stuff like that and be like, that's not really how this people fought during this time. And I'm like, I don't care. It's cool. It's cool to watch a bunch of knights run through a field swinging swords at each other. That's cool. I understand that historically that's the dumbest way to fight for an army, and they probably had long pikes and poked at each other first, and the sword was a sidearm because it's on your side. Like, I get it. Your sword was your secondary weapon because poking someone with a metal tip on a long spear on a long wooden thing.
Because you don't want to be next to the person that you're poking. Typically, you typically don't want to be close to that person.
I get that is definitely the way that they probably fought. Me not being a historian, but it's more aesthetically pleasing to watch a bunch of dudes swing and do this really cool swordplay stuff.
Yes. I thought you were gonna say that like the way that Lord of the Rings is like good but doesn't hold up well. I was gonna say no. Gladiator is so good. Honestly, looking at it from a lens, like a modern lens of like what could be wrong with that movie, it is hard to find things that are wrong with that movie.
No, it's still
a quality piece of cinema.
It is. It holds up better, I think, than most movies, especially most movies of that time.
It was what, 2002?
Yeah, something like. Listen, any movie made in the 90s to the early 2000s.
The early 2000s were not great for movies.
Well, because the early 2000s
Oh, it
were
was
like
2000.
we're right when you were coming off of the 90s, and like, dude, do you remember in the 90s, like every other week a new movie would come out, and they were just
Yes.
like
I do remember that in
pumping
the 90s.
they were just like pumping out these. They were not bangers. They were not pumping out blockbuster hits.
Yeah.
They were just pumping out spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the early 2000s, when CGI became a thing, everyone thought that it was amazing. And so now, because we didn't have to make practical effects,
Mm-hmm.
we could just throw them in front of a green screen and, animate
Yeah, and
something.
just let shit hit the fan.
Then movies just started coming out every week.
Yeah.
And they were like high budget, like not high budget, but reaching. They were high reaching movies.
Low budget, high goals.
It was
Yeah.
garbage.
Yeah.
Absolute garbage. But you did get a few bangers in the midst of that. Gladiator's one of them. I personally think, I don't know what you feel about this, I think Kingdom of Heaven is another movie in
I've never
that same
seen it.
genre that's really good. Again, not historically accurate in the least bit,
Mhm.
but Orlando Bloom plays a Knight Templar during the, I think I want to say, the Second Crusade, going in and defending the Holy Land phenomenally.
Oh
It's
wait,
a good,
wasn't that Robin Hood movie coming out that same time too with Morgan Freeman?
No. That came out way afterwards.
Did
That
it?
was more recent. Yeah, you're talking about
No.
like,
That was actually earlier.
Robin Hood with Morgan
1991.
Freeman.
Yeah.
Morgan Freeman.
Prince of
that
Thieves.
Robin Hood.
That one. Kevin Costner.
Yes, Kevin
That one
Costner.
wasn't terrible. Kevin Costner's not a great actor, but Morgan
He's
Freeman
not the person.
carried
He's not
that
the
movie.
person I would. Is Morgan Freeman in that movie?
Yeah, Morgan Freeman
Who
plays
does
the
he-
Muslim.
Oh, see, he plays a Chew.
Yes. Quality movie.
See, it's been so long. It's been so long since I've seen.
It has
Prince
been
of
so
Thieves.
long since I've seen it, so I don't know if it holds up as well or if I'm just remembering it well.
It might.
But
Don't go watch Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, and think that. Although that does have one of.
I would recommend you watch it. I don't know if it's gonna
Yes.
hold up as well as I
Listen.
think. I would recommend watching the movie though, because that has the guy who played Snape in it too, Alan
Yeah.
Rickman.
Alan Rickman
Alan Rickman.
delivering one of the, as Guy of Gisborne, delivering one of the greatest lines. I will cut your heart out with a spoon.
But why is
And
spoon,
just-
cousin?
Yeah, just the way he delivers it is that, and then the transition is that he yells it,
Yeah.
and then it completely transitions into a scene with him and his cousin chilling in a room. The level is all down, and you could tell that the guy's just been thinking about it the entire time, because like time has passed, and he's just like, why a spoon, cousin? Like, it's just like, I'm like, this is the most realistic progression of
Mhm.
conversation in any movie ever.
Yeah.
Why a spoon, cousin? Because it'll hurt more. Like,
I think Alan Rickman and Morgan Freeman carry that movie. That movie is
funny. Walmart released a bunch of classic movies in the quotable classics,
Mhm.
whatever editions of things, and it was like The Godfather, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I think Gladiator was one of them, and it just, instead of the name of the movie on the sleeve of the DVD, it had the most quotable line. So like Gladiator had like a picture of Russell Crowe, and it said, "Are you not entertained?" I forget what The Godfather had on it, but
They murdered
sure
my
enough,
boy.
yeah, sure enough, on the cover of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Alan Rickman's face, front and center, and it said, "I will cut your heart out with a spoon." Greatest line ever.
We are getting short on time, unfortunately.
It's okay. We've talked about the things that I had written down, except with the exception of one. And then it was just a thought.
What
But
was
we
the
have
thought?
deviated. No, it was just I was going to talk about the other thing because I was talking to Sifu Martin about the laws in regarding to me
Oh
defending
yeah, the
myself
6 month
in the
thing.
state of Canada. Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about it another time though.
Yeah, like, and it was just the fact that the people who make these arbitrary laws have very little to no understanding of the thing that they're making the laws about.
Well, I mean, again, that kind of, I'm sure, has a lot of unions with other set or intersections with other sets of like people making
Yes.
laws about things that they don't know anything about.
Absolutely.
But having
for
said
context,
that,
yeah, I was just gonna say for context, we won't get into it, but for context, as someone who has trained for a long time, you and I, we have to understand that if we get into a physical altercation where we have to use our hands to defend ourselves,
Mhm.
use our skills to defend ourselves, yeah, we're looked at as different than the people around us,
Right.
than just the Joe Schmo on the street because of all of our training. I get that, I understand that, but in Kansas, the law is that you are if you have had more than 6 months of training in any type of combat, hand-to-hand art or sport,
Mhm.
when you are in a physical altercation, you are considered armed with just your hands and your feet.
For 6 months,
So,
after training for 6 months,
yeah,
which
so
is
that means if I
no
boxed
time at
for
all.
6 months,
Not even that. It means
I'm
if you did
considered
like
armed.
Tai Chi, like
If
if
I
you
did
Tai Chi in the
well,
park.
I don't think that they would consider Tai Chi a martial art. Most people don't. But if you did,
I don't know.
yeah, if you did some sort of like if you did Taekwondo for 6 months,
Right.
if you did traditional Shotokan karate, which you wouldn't
Like-
even be the first rank.
Yeah.
You would still be a white belt.
Imagine some like a kung fu practitioner after 6 months.
I've been
Like,
doing
don't
it
get
for
me wrong.
4.
Right. You've been doing it for 4 months, but you're
And if it-
also a
If it
master
was
rank in
that's,
another
but
art.
that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. If it
Oh,
was
yeah.
only if this was only what I knew, like if I started here
Right.
and I didn't have like my other knowledge to fall back on, I wouldn't even begin to conceive
Mhm.
how I would use some of these movements together in a self-defense way. Or I would think I did and it would end up getting me hurt or
Right.
killed.
Yeah.
And so the fact that someone who's been doing this for 2 more months than me is considered physically armed,
Mhm.
it's ridiculous.
And as a side note,
that-
I wasn't shit talking kung fu. I love kung fu. I just think it's a very high skill ceiling, high skill floor art, where in order to learn the amount to be functional, it's just you need a lot of time. But once you get there,
And-
woo, they're crazy.
And
They're crazy.
and also for reference, my kung fu instructor, who's teaching me Bagua Zhang, he generally doesn't even teach anyone who isn't at least a black belt rank or higher in another art or system
Mhm.
because of that skill tier
Right.
that you're looking at. Because there's so many times where he'll show me something and he's like, and you have stuff that you can do once you're in this position,
Mhm.
as opposed to having to teach striking and things like he
Yeah.
to give context. It's like you need a couple years, 3 to 4 years baseline in another art.
He's like a grad
Before
school
he-
teacher.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way of looking at it. It's grad school. I mean,
Yeah. You're in grad school. He's like the grad school teacher. You're going for your PhD. Or
Anyway,
master's. But yeah,
we're gonna get off.
We're getting
go off on another
off
topic.
topic, off on another tangent. It's like that's where we got the name of the podcast from.
So,
Whatever.
so next week we're gonna do our tri-weekly check-in for what we're gonna do for our
body
spirit.
and spirit. Or sorry.
Well,
yeah.
no, we did
body
our-
was
we did our-
today. What I was saying
Body
is
was-
body was today and spirit, and then mind is the
And
last
then
one.
mind.
Which I have to give you a topic because it's my turn.
Oh, that's right. It is your turn. Thank God.
Yeah, I'll come with that later. But anyway,
You can come up.
thank you anyone who's here for watching or listening to this on YouTube or whatever. You're cool.
And like and subscribe.
Yeah. Leave a comment. Send us stuff. Sure.